the Radha's dilemma.
After the battle, the once prosperous temple lay in ruins. Shiva and others took refuge in the forest, setting up an ashram as a temporary home. When the attackers had departed and the devastated area began to regain its serenity, Shiva and Radha returned to the site of the former temple. The intricately carved temple was in ruins, leaving only fragments and memories. Radha, who cherished the temple, was devastated by this sudden life-changing event and took it upon herself to take responsibility for restoring the temple to its former state. Every day, she painstakingly went through the rubble, piecing together each and every piece that was once part of the sacred structure. Each time, her heart ached. She was deeply connected to the temple and its history.
As time passed, Radha's attempts seemed futile, and she grew more and more hopeless. Her obsession with seeing the temple rise once again in all its grandeur consumed her. Shiva called for the village craftsmen, his old students, but was perplexed by Radha's obsession with the broken pieces. There must be a way to fix this, right? I have repaired this temple many times before. You're not doing it right.
Radha, I don't rebuild the house every 10 years. I only repair it. But at some point, you have to rebuild it from scratch. You can't blame the house or anything else. It's just how it is. The craftsman pointed out that many of the pieces were too damaged to be repaired, and that even if they were repaired, there was a risk of collapse in the future. The main beams and pillars had weakened, but Radha could not give up. She was hallucinating and could not accept that the temple would never be the same again, and she was busy piecing together the pieces here and there. One evening, Radha was sitting among the scattered pieces of the temple. Her despair had reached its limit. With trembling hands, she held a particularly fragile piece on her lap, trying to fit it into place where it no longer fit. Her tears mixed with the dust, and her heart was filled with sadness. The pieces became smaller and smaller, and she cried,
Why are my efforts futile? I pray so much, but God is so cruel.
At that moment, Shiva, the god of change, sat silently next to Radha. His presence was soft, and he continued to sit next to Radha in silence. He touched Radha's forehead with his gentle, loving hand, comforting her. Radha, I see your pain and your dedication. You are deeply connected to this temple, but the path you are on now is shrouded in a mist of attachment.
Radha looked up, and her eyes held both relief and confusion. Shiva, I cannot let go of this piece. It is the core of this temple. It is a part of what was once sacred. How can I let it go? Shiva's eyes were kind and full of understanding.
I do not preserve what cannot be fixed. I recycle it. The old form may be lost, but its essence is transformed. It is important to be in harmony with the change, not to cling to what no longer serves.
Radha's mind wavered, but she tried to understand the words. But what about the temple? It had great meaning. How can I let this go?
The old rules do not apply to the new equation, Shiva continued. Restoration is not about recreating what was once, but about embracing change and finding a new path. The essence of what was once sacred is not limited to its physical form. It lives in the new creation.
He paused, letting the weight of his words reach Radha's heart.
It is a path of self-exploration. Letting go of what is no longer worth saving makes room for new forms to emerge. The soul of the temple is not lost. It is simply evolving. What matters is how we honor it in new ways.
Tears welled up in Radha's eyes, but this time they were tears of understanding, not sadness. She gently let go of the pieces, sensing that it was her attachment that was preventing the temple from being properly reborn. She encouraged other artisans to continue working with the remaining pieces, creating something that honored the past and embraced the present. As the restoration progressed, the temple took on a form that embraced new realities while retaining its sacred essence. Radha felt relieved that the soul of the temple lived on and was growing in new forms. Letting go and embracing transformation is the path to truly honoring what we love. Ultimately, the temple symbolized the wisdom of change, mirroring both the past and the future with its sacred presence.